These two portraits were lit using one light. No fill, no rim, no complex setup. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through both portraits from an empty studio all the way to the final image, showing you why simple setups are normally the strongest place to start. In the last video, we talked about why simple lighting setups work best, and it's because they give you control, clarity, and intention. Now I wanna show you what that looks like in practice. This isn't about tricks, it's about what one light can do when it's placed intentionally. Right now, there's no lighting going on. This is important because lighting decisions only make sense when you know where you're starting. Before I set a light, I'm looking at the model's face, the distance from the background, and where I want shape and shadow. Everything is going to start with intention. Now let's talk about the lighting setup that's going to be used for both of our portrait examples. I'm going to be using the Godox 8600BM, and I have a 36-inch softbox with no grid attached to my light. This is going to be in the Rembrandt position for both of the setups, and we're going to start with the softer setup. And what you're going to notice is I have this light pushed nice and close into Emily on her left side. And what we're going for here, when I take this test image, what we're going for here is nice, soft roll off from the highlights to the shadows. And what I'm also looking for is just a little bit of shadow definition on the right side of her face. I'm gonna take another test shot here just so that you can see we are also going for a catch light in Emily's eye. And that is going to be dictated by how high or low this light is, also the angle of the light. So as you can see, I have it placed just slightly above her eye level, and I also have it angled down so that way I can get a catch light in Emily's eye. Two more things that I want you to keep in mind when you're doing this setup. Notice how the background is white, but when I take the image, it falls to like more of a gray tone. That is because with us having the light so close to Emily, we are taking away some of the light that is going to our backdrop. If you wanted to do this even more, you could feather the light slightly away from the backdrop, move it a little bit more towards the side of Emily, and you will again start to take more light away from that backdrop. The second thing that I want you to keep in mind is how posing is going to affect your final portrait. If you turn Emily into the light or your subject into the light, you're going to illuminate more of the face. If you turn them away from the light, then you are going to get a lot more shadow on the face. It's just some things to think about and some things that you can add into your bag in case you want to play around with this setup. Now let's get into our second portrait example. And as you can see, we've increased the distance between our light and our model. We're still maintaining the same exact principles. We're using the 8600BM, and we are still using the 36-inch softbox with no grid. However, the distance is now the main contributor to why this image is going to be different. Let me take our first test shot here. First thing that you're going to notice, 3, 2, is just how much more specular our highlights become. It's gonna mimic something of a hard light. As we know, the further your light is away from your subject, the harder that light is gonna show. Another thing that you're gonna notice is that it wraps a little more, and it also goes down her body ever so slightly. Because we are expanding that distance, we're allowing more of that light to travel to Emily. The last thing that you're gonna notice is the background. Notice how the background gets much closer to a white because, as we spoke about in the first session, when you push that light in closer, you're taking away light from the background. But as you pull that light out, you are starting to illuminate your backdrop a whole lot more. This could be something you want, this could be something that you don't want. As I take this next test shot, I want you to think about something. 3, 2, and let's move a little bit. So 3, 2, yep, move toward the light. 3, 2, go away. 3, 2. You're gonna really start to see that wrap and how it starts to happen. And as she turns away from the light, you're gonna see how much more harsh our fall off is from highlight to shadow. Again, this is something that you just have to dial in the taste, and it can be something that you really, really like or something that you really don't. The last thing that you wanna keep in mind, and I'm gonna take a nice close shot here so that you can see it, we are still 3, 2, even with our distance, we are still maintaining our catch light. Remember, catch lights in the eyes, they give those eyes life. So what you want to do when you back that light up, you might have to raise it a little bit more because now your hot spot's going to be in a different place, but make sure you do so that you're really keen in and you're really locked in on still getting that catch light and making sure that the light falls flattering. The last thing that I want to talk about with this setup specifically, I do believe that a lot of beginner photographers really fall victim to having their light too close too often. A lot of times when you have the light really close, especially when you're trying to do something like a wide shot, you're not going to have the fall off that you might need to get the portraits that you're looking for. So one thing that I implore you to do is really start to play around with backing up that light, because as you can see, even though the second portrait is a harder light source than the first portrait, it is still a very soft and forgiving light source. It's not like you're using a reflector and you're really blasting highlights onto your model's face. So really play around with that distance. I really implore you to kind of push that light back. And the last thing is, you will need considerably more power as you start to pull that light back. You will definitely need to make sure you have something like a 600 watt or a 400 watt. I was shooting today at f5.6, so I made sure that both times the light was metered to f5.6, and when I did push the light back, I was required to use a lot more power. But I do still implore you all to play around with these setups, really just play around with where you're putting your light and the distance, because it really does make a huge impact. These are the final two portraits. Both portraits were done with one light, intentional placement, and controlled shadows. Nothing extra, nothing complicated, and that's the point. This is why simple lighting setups work the best. They help you to understand light direction, prioritize shadows, and simplify problems instead of covering them up. Once you can master one light, then it makes sense to add in a second. That's gonna do it for today's video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video.